Welcome to Easy Math TV. This is another video in our statistics series. We're going to be looking at frequency tables and relative frequency tables and how to understand how data is distributed or how it's spread out in a data set. So I wanted to actually walk through a couple of homework problems here. So this one has to do with interpreting what you see in a binned frequency table. So like, what is it that you're actually seeing in front of you? What are all these numbers? What do they represent? So the question starts with identify the lower class limits, and then the upper class limits, the class width, the class midpoint, and the class boundaries for the given frequency distribution. So these are your classes. When it talks about class limits and class width and class midpoint, these are classifications of numbers. We're grouping the numbers into classes, or like you could even think of them as strata, categories. So the first class goes from 0 to 99. And if we're talking about the lower class limits, then that will be the first number in each class. So whatever the first number in each class is, that's your lower limit. So the first lower limit is going to be 0. Then the second lower limit is 100. And then 200, 300, 400. So they're separated by 100. 500. And then the last class has a lower limit of 600. So I'm going to hit check answer. There's another part now. Now it wants to know the upper class limits. So the upper class limits are the number on the top end of each class. So the upper end of each class. So we have a 99. We have a 199. We have a 299. We have a 399. We have a 499, 599, and 699. I'm going to hit check answer again. Good. Okay. Now, what is the class width? The class width is any two consecutive class lower class limits. So you take, say, the 100 and the 0, or the 200 and the 100, and you subtract them. And that's your class width. So we said they're 100 units apart from each other, because 100 minus 0 is 100. 200 minus 100 is 100. So you should be getting the same number no matter what you do. So, because the class widths are supposed to be the same. Now it wants to know what the midpoints are of each class. So for that, we actually need to use a calculator. I mean, sort of, because if you look at the first class, it's 0 to 99. So if I add those numbers up and divide by 2, we get 49.5. So the first class midpoint is 49.5. Class midpoints are used in calculating things like the mean. If you need some your mean calculated, or the standard deviation of this, and you don't have the original data to go from, all you have is the frequency table, we have to use the class midpoints. So since the class width was 100 and we have our first class midpoint is 49.5, all we need to do is keep adding 100 to these, and we get all of our class midpoints, because they need to be 100 apart from each other. That's our width. So once you figure out that first midpoint, And then it's just a question of adding 100 to it every time. So 49.5, 149.5, 249.5, 349.5, 449.5, 549.5, and 649.5. I'm just going to double check and make sure I didn't type anything in incorrectly and hit check answer. So what are the class boundaries? So this is something that, I mean, typically I don't usually worry about. It's basically what is in between, exactly halfway in between the edges of these classes. So basically there's a gap from 99 to 100, right? So the boundary would be 99.5. So basically, and the first one though, so I have to count how many boundaries there are. I need to know if I might need the one on the left as well, which is going to be negative 0.5. Let's just type these in because I think that it wants to know the we have to go half of a unit to the left of 0, which is negative 0.5, and then add 0.5 to 99, and then just keep adding 0.5 to each of these values, upper limits. So 99.5, and then 199.5. It's just that first one there that's tricky because especially when there's a 0 and you have to go into a negative, but it's just 0 minus 0.5. But for everything else, we're just going to be adding 0.5 to the upper limit of each class. So 299.5. And then 399.5. There we go. Again, those class boundaries are not going to be numbers we're going to be emphasizing. You know, it's just good that you've had some exposure to what that is. Identify the number of individuals included in this summary data. So this is considered to be summary data, and the number of individuals is going to be adding up all the frequencies. So we could also get the value of n if we opened the frequency table in StatCrunch. But when you don't have a lot of numbers to add up, it's really not that difficult to just type them in here. Just add up all those numbers. $3, $49, $95, $22, and 1, and that's 170. So I'm going to type in 170 here. Okay, and we're done with that one. Like, subscribe, comment down below if you are enjoying these videos, and I'll see you in the next video on StatCrunch.